Greetings, welcome, and thank you for clicking. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing Company, encouraging your journey with Reiki, card reading, and coaching for life's changes, challenges, and transitions. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Ask the Stones, offering spiritual guidance and encouragement for life's challenging questions. Greetings and welcome to this episode of Ask the Stones. Our question comes from Ben. What do you do when the woman you love is an alcoholic? Never have I been in a relationship where I have been so compatible and had so much fun. We are amazing together and in love, but when we are not together, she goes out with her alcoholic friends and gets messed up. It puts our relationship on a roller coaster, and I don't know what to do. It's getting in the way of doing things I want to do to achieve my goals. I've told her I don't want to be in love with an alcoholic. She says she wants to stop drinking, but she can't. I can't live like this, and I'm confused about what to do. I think an ultimatum will lead to a breakup, but I'm running out of patience. Ben, thank you for this question. Thank you very much for your openness and honesty about your situation. And Ben, I want to say thank you for bringing this forward, not just for yourself, but for anyone else who might be listening and might be in a similar kind of situation. You know, Ben, I can say that actually I have been in a similar kind of situation, so I can understand where you're coming from. Now, of course, I'm not you, Ben, so I cannot fully put myself in your shoes, but I've got maybe a few toes in the shoes, and I can definitely understand why and how you feel the way that you feel. So Ben, as far as your situation, I do want to offer my blessings to you because I can imagine that this is very difficult. Well, I say I can imagine. Like I said, I was in a similar situation. I'll talk a little bit about my own situation, just to help you out if it may. And so I can imagine what you are going through in a sense. So I want to send my blessings to you during this challenging time. It is not easy when we love people, whether they are in a love relationship, they are our partners, spouses, or they are family members or friends. And we have a challenging time navigating that relationship and navigating the experience of the relationship, and even been experiencing a loved one who is doing things that don't really resonate with us, or that don't sit well with us, or that we are challenged to accept. So this is not easy, and I want to send my blessings to you during this time. Now, you know, Ben, what I don't know is how long you have been with your partner. I don't know how long you have been in this relationship in which you say it's so compatible and you have so much fun and that you're amazing together and in love. I don't know how long that's been. I also don't know how long she's been going out with her friends and drinking, and that your relationship has been on a roller coaster. I don't know any of that. And ultimately, it doesn't matter, because it's important for us to consider where the relationship is right now. One of the really challenging things in this kind of situation is, if you have been with that person for some time, putting the emphasis on that amount of time that you've been together and saying, oh, this is where we're at right now. This is such a challenge. I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. And we have so much history, and we've had so many good times, and we've been together for this amount of time, and it would just be terrible to throw it all away. So oftentimes when we've had a relationship that has lasted for some time and is at this point, it is even more challenging because of all of the time that has come before this time. So, on one hand, it doesn't matter how long you've been in this relationship. And on the other hand, it matters in terms of that can really influence your feelings about where you are right now. Now, Ben, I don't know if any of that is the case. And I will say that if this was a coaching session, Ben, so if you and I were having a conversation about your experience, I might be asking you some of these kinds of questions. So just know that what I might ask you would be things along, well, Ben, how long has this relationship been going on? How long have these challenges with the relationship lasted? Just to get a better idea of your situation and your experience and how it has been impacting you. Because truly, Ben, how it has been impacting you is what's really important to think about right now. What I hear in your question, what do you do when the woman you love is an alcoholic? What I really hear in all of this is that this is impacting you. It is having an impact on you. And what I'm also hearing is that it is having a negative impact, Ben, because here you are at a point where you are saying, I don't know what to do. You are being negatively impacted by this relationship. When we get to a point of saying, what do? I don't know what to do. Then that's a point when we know that we are oftentimes being negatively impacted in a situation. So I want to just step back for a moment, Ben, and honor the impact that this has been having on you. Now, I don't know this, Ben, but I know from my own experience that in this kind of challenging relationship, that impact can be physical. So it can look like physical ailments, sickness in our stomach, high blood pressure, headaches. It can look like physical symptoms. It can also look like mental and emotional impacts. Maybe some brain fogginess or just feeling sad for unknown reasons. So I want to acknowledge that these impacts that you can be feeling from this relationship can indeed manifest in all kinds of ways. So for me personally, Ben, I was in, and I've mentioned this here and there before. You can actually hear me talking about it on various Ask the Stones episodes. I was in an abusive relationship many years ago, and a part of that relationship was alcoholism and was the effects of overdrinking. And so I know that while that was not the only challenge in the relationship, the drinking was impactful in the relationship. And from my experience in my abusive relationship, I was having physical symptoms. So I was so sick in the stomach, and it was inexplicable. I mean, I was to the point where to eat anything, I felt horrendously sick in the stomach. I was losing all kinds of weight because I just simply did not want to eat. And at the time, I just didn't understand what the cause was. I was going through some other life changes at the time, and I really kind of chalked it up to those. But no, looking back on it many years later, I had the realization, oh my gosh, it was this relationship. I was just physically ill from this negatively impactful relationship. It was having a major impact on me. And so I was having physical symptoms. I was having emotional symptoms where I was feeling anger and impatience and stress and just not my typical self. So it was quite impactful. Now, Ben, I don't know for certain, but I would be willing to bet that in this relationship with the roller coaster that you are experiencing, my guess is that you may very well be feeling the impact in those kinds of ways, in terms of physical ways, emotional ways, certainly emotional ways, mental ways, all kinds of ways. So what I'm saying here, Ben, is it's important to acknowledge that this relationship is not just impacting the relationship, that probably this relationship is impacting other facets of your life, whether you realize that yet or not. And it may be impacting your physical well-being. It may be impacting how you are showing up in your other relationships. It may be impacting your work. And I want to encourage you to take some time to pause and reflect on that, and to ask yourself if it is and how it is, and to just explore that for yourself, Ben, to see how this love relationship is impacting you in ways outside of the relationship. Now, Ben, what do you do? What do you do about this? You know that you are on a roller coaster. That definitely is something that I experienced too, Ben, in my relationship. It very much was a roller coaster. I didn't know one day to the next how she might show up in the relationship. I didn't know from one day to the next what to expect out of the relationship. I didn't know from one day to the next what I might do wrong. And so it very was an experience of a roller coaster. So I can definitely understand, Ben, where you are coming from in these feelings, the ups and the downs. Now, it sounds to me like you have some real ups. You're in love. You're compatible. You have a lot of fun. You're amazing together. What I want to encourage you to do, Ben, is to really explore those points that you're making. So if we were having a conversation, Ben, I would ask you, Ben, you're compatible. How are you compatible? What does that mean to you? What does that look like to you? Or you say you are amazing together. What does that mean to you? What does that look like? Paint the picture for me, Ben. Because I would really want to know what that means and what your experience of that is. So I want to encourage you to do some exploration of that in your own time, to really sit down and ask yourself, how are we compatible? What does that mean to me? When I say that we're compatible, what does that look like to me? When I say we have a lot of fun, what do we have fun doing? What kinds of fun do we have? What does that look like? How does that feel? You're amazing together. What does that mean? What does that look like? So to make sure to carve out time to ask yourself these questions, Ben, and explore what truly that all means to you with these ups in the roller coaster. Likewise, I want to encourage you to explore those downs. And so when you are experiencing the downs of the relationship, what does that look like? What does that feel like? What is that experience for you? And I want to encourage you to do these because it's important for you to really grasp. Well, I shouldn't tell you what's important to you, Ben. I apologize. Let me rephrase. To me, it's important to consider the totality of the relationship and to maybe not isolate the positive fun experiences, and to maybe not isolate the negative experiences, but to consider the relationship as a whole. Now, I do want to just make some odd observations here, Ben. So given those questions that I've just posed to you and the encouragement to look at your relationship as a whole, I want to point out a couple of things. When you say that you're amazing together, to me, in my personal definition of a healthy relationship, the roller coaster is not amazing. And I can say that from personal experience. The roller coaster was not fun. To me, it was not amazing. And Ben, if the roller coaster is fun for you, if you do enjoy it, if it is amazing to you, I want to encourage you to ask yourself why. And I want to encourage you to explore what it is you find so great about the roller coaster. Now, Ben, I don't get the impression that you like the roller coaster because you're talking about it in a negative kind of way. Your relationship is on a roller coaster when she goes out with her alcoholic friends and gets messed up and you don't know what to do. That to me doesn't sound like you enjoy the ups and the downs of the relationship. So for me, it was not fun. It was not enjoyable. But I'll tell you what it was, Ben. It was normal for the relationship. It just became the norm of the relationship. It was just normal to experience the ups and downs. I didn't like them. They didn't feel good. And it was just how the relationship functioned. You know, even when things function in a dysfunctional kind of way, they still function. As a matter of fact, one could say that dysfunction is functional because it's still functioning, still working in some way. Maybe it's not working in a positive way, but it's working in some way. So, Ben, I want to encourage you to consider that functioning that has maybe become normal in your experience of the relationship. I knew my relationship wasn't healthy. I knew that many times it did not feel good, but it was also just normal for the relationship. It became normal for me to not be sure of what person in the relationship was going to show up that day. It was normal for me to be afraid to say certain things for what she might do. It just became normal for her to break up with me and for her to overdrink and for her to drive drunk. That all just became normal. It didn't feel good. It wasn't happy, and it was normal. So it was functioning. And I want to encourage you to explore for yourself, Ben, in your own relationship, that up and the down, the roller coaster, and in terms of that amazingness. To me, that roller coaster was not amazing. And so if you explore that, Ben, and you say, yeah, no, that's not amazing, then my question for you is, are you amazing together? Are you indeed amazing together? And to ask yourself further, are we compatible? Because you do say you've never been in a relationship where you've been so compatible. And my question for you, Ben, is, are you compatible? If you're experiencing these ups and downs, the roller coaster that you don't enjoy, is that compatibility? Is that what compatibility looks like and means to you? And Ben, those are not judgmental questions. These are questions, I think, though, that it is important for you to explore for yourself and to answer these questions for yourself. And to ask yourself in what ways you are compatible, in what ways you are amazing, and what that means to you. And if that truly fits with your definition of a healthy relationship that you indeed want. You know, Ben, one thing that you say is that you don't know what to do. And I hear this a lot. In my coaching, I hear this a lot from people. I don't know what to do. And when I ask questions, oftentimes people will have answers that reveal that they actually know a lot more than they think they do. And my question for you is, Ben, do you maybe know more than you think you do? Do you maybe know more than you realize? Or even, Ben, perhaps want to admit? And that is okay if that's the case. But what I'm saying here, Ben, is that oftentimes, even when we don't know what we want or we don't know what to do, we have an idea of what we don't want. And so I would encourage you to consider, if you don't know what to do, Ben, or you don't know what you want, I might encourage you to consider, what is it you don't want? So Ben, if you don't know what to do and you don't know what you want to do, asking yourself, okay, what do I not want? What do I not want to do? And to explore that. Because, you know, when we say, I don't know what to do, I don't know which way to turn, I don't know how to handle this situation, I don't know what I want to do with my life, we oftentimes can point out things that we don't want. And I'll tell you, that is knowing something. So often when we say we don't know what we want, or we don't have any clue, we have no idea, the truth is that we often, when we really sit down and think about it and parse it out, we often do know more than we realize. and we know more than we're giving ourselves credit for. But oftentimes that knowing is clouded over. That knowing is just piled on with all of the stress and the worry and the uncertainty. And so, Ben, when we can get a moment and really just sit down and parse through it all, it's almost like untangling a knot. You know, we have this whole big knot and we say, I can't figure this thing out. Look at this big mess. But when we sit down and pull at the strands, we can pull pieces of the knot apart and have a better understanding of that knot and see it more clearly, and even pull it apart and untangle it. And so, Ben, I do encourage you to sit down and ask yourself the things that you do know, the things that you do want, and the things even that you don't want, which can help to show you that you actually do know more than you are giving yourself credit for. Now, Ben, only you know whether or not it's right for you to stay in this relationship. I cannot tell you whether or not that's the right choice. Only you know that, Ben. And I want to encourage you to make this exploration and that decision for you. And I know you love your partner. And I know you want what's best for her. And I know you want her to stop drinking. And my question for you is, what do you want, Ben? What does Ben want for yourself? What do you want for yourself, Ben? Now you may be thinking, well, Christian, what I want is to stay with my partner and for her to stop drinking. Okay, great. And when it comes to alcoholism, dependency, addiction, these are not easy things to break away from. And Ben, if your partner is challenged to do that, if your partner cannot do that, it's not your fault. It is not your fault. As a matter of fact, I do just want to pause and just emphasize how difficult it is to break addictions and dependencies, and how, really addictions are quite a challenge to break away from. And so let's also not put blame on your partner for being quote unquote weak or not having quote unquote the willpower or any of that. And so let's release judgment of your partner as well, Ben. Let's release judgment of her and the challenges that she is facing. And we can release judgment of others and love them from a distance. We can release judgment of others' challenges, send them compassion and send them love and light and blessings, and not have to be impacted by our experience with them. So we can love others from a distance. What that means is that, Ben, you can want her to stop drinking, and it doesn't mean that you have to be directly involved in supporting her through that. And so if you choose to end this relationship, I want to encourage you to recognize that it does not mean that you are a bad person. It does not mean that you don't love her. It does not mean that you don't want to support her as she breaks her addiction. It only means that you want to do what is best for you. I know for me personally, in my experience, Ben, I finally had to get to a point where I said enough is enough. And this was at a point where I was just completely broken down. Emotionally, physically, I just could not take it anymore. It was like I had hit an emotional wall. And all of my emotion was just completely spent. I had nothing left to give. And when I ultimately left that relationship, it didn't make me a bad person. It didn't make me unloving. It didn't make me someone who, didn't love her. As a matter of fact, that was something, she would say, you gotta love the crazy or you don't love me. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what it was, like you have to accept me as I am or you don't really love me. Well, I can accept you as you are and love you from a distance and say, I support you in how you want to be in the world, and I am done having it impact me. So Ben, if you make that decision for yourself, I encourage you to release judgment of yourself. You are not a bad person if you don't stick around in this relationship. Ben, nor are you a bad person if you do stick around in this relationship. Ben, it can be so challenging to leave challenging relationships because remember, that dysfunction of the relationship just becomes normal. And it can oftentimes be hard for us to envision another way of being. And it can be hard for us to leave the relationship just because, we have these good points. There are good things about it. And, yes, it's challenging and it's stressful, but it's not always like that. I mean, maybe 70% of the time, but the 30% is really great. I know, Ben, I've been there, done that. But it can be a real challenge to leave challenging relationships. And so, Ben, if you stick around for longer and ultimately do leave, it's okay if you end up sticking around for longer in this challenging relationship because it really can be a challenge to leave challenging relationships. So know, Ben, that if you stick around and you continue to experience this roller coaster, it doesn't make you a bad person either. It doesn't make you a bad person for continuing to be in an unhealthy relationship. And yes, Ben, I'm going to say that this is an unhealthy relationship. And, I don't know the full story of the relationship, of course, but based upon what you are telling me, I feel pretty comfortable saying that I don't know that this is a healthy relationship, Ben. And so it is okay if you stick around in an unhealthy relationship because you're challenged to leave it. That's normal. That's totally normal. And the important thing here is to be understanding with yourself and not beat yourself up. Looking back on my abusive relationship, I don't beat myself up. I don't say to myself, oh, I should have ended it sooner. Why did I stay? What was wrong with me? No, I don't say that at all. I can absolutely understand. I know why I didn't leave sooner. I know why I stayed as long as I did. And, it served its purpose. I now have a greater understanding of what it's like to be in an abusive relationship, what it's like to be in a relationship with someone who is an alcoholic or has alcoholic tendencies. I know what that's like. And so I can now, Ben, come to you with your experience from my own experience. And I can understand you better, Ben, because of my experience. And the truth is that just, Ben, to be able to come to you and to understand where you're coming from, I would not trade my abusive relationship at all. If all it ever meant was that I could come to you now, Ben, and have an idea of what you're experiencing and the feelings that you may very well be having, then that relationship was worth it. Now, I will say also, that's not the only thing I got from the relationship. You know, I got a lot of growing myself, and I got a lot of compassion and a lot of understanding that I would not have otherwise. So it served its purpose, and Ben, so does your relationship. It has served its purpose. It does serve its purpose. And it has been an opportunity for growth for you, and you will grow from it. So know that even through these kinds of challenging relationships that are so challenging to leave, they have their blessings because they are great growth points for us, great points of a deepening of awareness and meaning and connection, opportunities for increased compassion and understanding. And what greater thing is there, Ben? What greater thing is there than to be able to relate to and understand another human being and to hear them and to know where they're coming from? That's a true blessing. And so, Ben, what I'm saying is that should you decide to stay in this relationship, that's okay. Should you decide to stay in this relationship, please know that if you reach out to me a year later and you say, well, Christian, what do you do when the woman you love is an alcoholic? What do? I don't know what to do. I'm not going to say to you, Ben, go back and listen to my answer from a year ago. What have you been thinking? No way. I'm going to say, Ben, I understand where you're coming from. I know how challenging this is, and it's okay. It's okay that it's a challenge. And it's okay that it's been another year and you are still in this challenging relationship. Maybe even been abusive relationship. Roller coasters are not fun places to be, and they very well can feel and be abusive. So, Ben, what I'm saying is that there's no judgment here if you decide to stay in this relationship longer. But what I do want you to do is to do some real soul searching about it and to do some real considering of what is in your best interest. You know, Ben, you're reaching out with this question. And anytime someone is reaching out with this kind of question, it says to me that you already know a lot more than you might be wanting to admit or realizing. Because if you knew that you wanted to stay in the relationship, your question would be different. You would be saying to me, how do I deal with this? How do I support her? How do I handle this? You wouldn't be saying, I don't know what to do. I can't live like this. I'm confused. Ben, you are saying to me, I can't live like this. I want to encourage you to honor that. And just to reiterate, Ben, leaving is a process. And it begins with this kind of a question. It begins with this kind of confusion and uncertainty. It begins with this kind of reaching out. And it can take time for that process to play out, and that is okay. You know, I didn't leave my abusive relationship once I realized that it was not healthy. If that was the case, that would have been right at the beginning. Like, I knew right away, man, it was not a good situation. But it was a process for the leaving. And so if it's a process that is drawn out for you too, Ben, that's okay. It will work itself out in the way that it needs to. Now, of course, it can also happen that your partner stops drinking and she is no longer an alcoholic and the roller coaster goes away. That's all possible. My question for you, Ben, is, what if that doesn't happen? My question for you is, how long are you willing to wait for that to happen? Are you willing to wait for that to happen, for that thing that may be a very long time in coming and that may never come? So those are my questions for you, Ben. These are not easy questions. Not at all. And so I do want to encourage you to be gentle with yourself as you ask yourself these questions and as you do this exploration. I also want to encourage you to seek support. You know, Al-Anon is something that you may want to consider. A group for friends, family of alcoholics. You may find some good support there. So that may be something for you to consider as well. You know, support is all around us in all kinds of ways, not just in the form of an episode of Ask the Stones. Support exists all around us. And so I encourage you to reach out and get support. You know, one of the things that is sometimes challenging is for men to talk about their relationship challenges and to talk about being in these types of relationships in which they feel like they are on a roller coaster or they feel like they need to walk on eggshells. You know, culturally speaking, it can often be very challenging. And, you know, for me, my relationship has been so long ago that I no longer have any kind of knee-jerk reaction to it, no trauma associated with it. It's just something that happened and I'm over it. But you know, for me, that wasn't always the case. Certainly when I was in it, I could not admit that that's what was happening. I could not admit to my family and friends the kind of relationship that I was in. And so I recognize, Ben, that this is not easy for you as a man in a relationship with a woman in our culture to be open about your relationship challenges. So I just want to acknowledge that and honor you for your bravery in that. But support is out there, Ben, and I encourage you to seek it out in the various ways that resonate with you. And of course, as always, Reiki can be really helpful for helping you to navigate the challenges and even helpful for you in experiencing the process of leaving if you do so decide to leave the relationship. So Ben, I want to say thank you so much for this important question. Ben, I'm going to pull for you. I'm going to pull 2 cards for you. I'm being called to pull a Celtic Dragon Tarot card and a Viking rune. And I'm also going to send some Reiki to you as well between the pulling of those 2 cards. So I'm going to pull a Celtic Dragon Tarot and send you Reiki, and then pull a Viking rune. Okay, Ben. The card that has popped out for you with the Celtic Dragon Tarot is the Empress. The Empress. Now, what I'm getting from the Empress here, Ben, is just an encouragement for you to recognize the blessings in your own experience, and to recognize the words here are not completely forming, Ben. What I'm trying to say is an encouragement to recognize the blessings within this experience. Now, oftentimes, this is not something that we can immediately do when we are in the experience. Actually, I write about this in my book, Standing Like the Stones, all about how to weather and withstand, survive, and thrive during life changes. I talk about how it's often very challenging to recognize the blessings when we're going through the challenging situation. By the way, if you have not yet gotten that book, I do encourage you to. It is free. And it's there to support any and all of us during any and all of our life changes. You can get that at standingstoneshealing.com/kit. But in the book, I talk about recognizing the blessings in the challenging life changes. And sometimes that's not always something that we can do right away, that some time has to pass. And so in order, for instance, in my own experience, for me to recognize the full extent of the blessings of my abusive relationship, I had to have some time pass first. I write about that in the book. And so know that this isn't necessarily something that is going to reveal itself all at once, all right away while you're in the experience. But there's an encouragement here for you to be considering those blessings now. And at the very least, like I write about in the book, to recognize that you will look back on this situation and see the blessings in it. So the blessings that you can't see now will reveal themselves, will unfurl, will unfold in the future more and more. So even if you can't see the blessings now, Ben, you will be able to see them in the future, and just an encouragement to know that there are blessings and they will reveal themselves to you. Wonderful. Thank you, Empress. Now, Ben, I would like to send you some Reiki for your experience. Please join me in taking 3 deep cleansing breaths. And to everyone listening, I'm sending Reiki to you as well. Now, don't worry if you don't want the Reiki to go to you. Of course, as always, it will not. Reiki goes where it is wanted and needed. But I am going to send Reiki specifically for our relationship challenges. Because the truth is, whether you love an alcoholic or not, we all have relationship challenges. This is a fact of life. So please join me in taking 3 deep cleansing breaths. Thank you, Ben, and everyone. So Ben, immediately as I started to send Reiki, I saw the image of stars. And I really personally love the stars. And one of the things that I find so comforting when I experience challenges is to just go look at the stars and to remember that those stars were here before me. Those stars are going to be here after me. And it has always been a comfort to me to look at the stars and just recognize how almost small, yes, not almost small, but yes, small my challenges are compared to the vastness of time and space. And so what I got in beginning to send you Reiki, Ben, is just an encouragement to know that this too shall pass. This too shall end. And whatever the future might look like, whatever the future might hold, this experience where you are right now, this roller coaster, is not your forever. It's not forever. Because the stars were here first, and the stars are going to outlast the roller coaster. So know, Ben, that the stars are here to remind us that we are small compared to them. And to me, it was always such a comfort. Ben, this is incredible. I have just pulled the rune of the unknown. This is a blank rune. There is no rune on it. It's just a stone. And this is beautiful because it really is so very much like the vastness of space and the huge unknown that is space. And the time that is just expansive, infinite, and goes on, stretches far, far before us, far, far behind us, above us and below us too. Just vast, infinite space. Incredible, really, it is. And Ben, there is an element of the unknown with your relationship. You can't know everything, Ben. None of us ever can. But you do know some things. And so while this rune is a blank rune, the unknown, there are some things that you do know. And so I want to encourage you to put the focus on the things that you do know and to act from what you do know rather than from what you don't know. Act from the points of certainty rather than from the points of uncertainty. And look to that vastness, that blankness for inspiration and comfort at this time. Thank you, Ben. I send you blessings and best wishes for your journey. I send blessings and best wishes to all of us for our journey. I do encourage all of us to please do get the Life Change Encouragement Kit with that great Standing Like the Stones 70-page full-color ebook. If you prefer audiobooks, yep, I have an audiobook version of it as well, all free. I also do encourage you to please share this with someone. If you know someone who is going through this kind of challenge or who might benefit from this message, please do share it with them. And please also do feel free to like and subscribe for more encouragement for your journey. I send you blessings and best wishes. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ask the Stones. If you have a question for Ask the Stones, please send me an email at christian@standingstoneshealing.com or connect with me on Facebook at Standing Stones Healing. Thank you, and best wishes for your journey.